Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to another fabulous Friday Rambling. I am your perpetual host, David the Bardic One, because every Friday I do like to ramble just for you. We're going to discuss something a little bit special today because we're going to discuss a story that has not only survived the decades, but has existed on both stage, on TV, and in film, and done so in various formats, not to mention served as major inspiration for many other comedic pairings since then, even though they are not officially recognized adaptations of the original story, simply using the dynamic established between the two main characters as inspiration. And really, what more can you go from there? So, what are we talking about? Well, if you're the kind of person that doesn't spend a lot of time reading my titles, you don't know yet, so I'm going to bust it out for you. We are talking The Odd Couple. Originally created by Neil Simon, who made a lot of plays in his long term as playwright that have become iconic and important parts of American culture. But we're going to just focus on The Odd Couple today because it's one that I've personally seen in a couple formats. And as I said, I can recognize a lot of that formula in various other shows that I enjoy for myself. So, what's the basics of The Odd Couple plot real quick? It is about two male friends. Yes, these are portrayed as classically two heterosexuals, so there's no romantic tension here. We're going to go ahead and throw that out, folks. Let's make this clear. Who, despite having polar opposite personalities, end up becoming roommates. And the comedy comes from their personality and values clashing in a manner that is based on, we don't want to ruin our friendship because we do recognize that because of the differing personalities, one person's strength is the other person's weakness, and vice versa. And therefore, and this is an important thing for folks to remember in these days and age because, I'm going to be honest, a little sideways here, I notice a lot of folks tend to forget this idea. You need people that don't always agree with you and occasionally aggravate the holy idea to strengthen you as a person and help you through life. You can't just have people around you that act the same way you do and think the same way you do at all times. And that's what The Odd Couple's all about. So, where does it all start? Let's get through the rundown, folks, and then we can talk about some of the real fun. The Odd Couple originally premiered as a play on Broadway at the Plymouth Theater March 10th, 1965, before transferring to the Eugene O'Neill Theater, where it closed on July 2nd, 1967, after 964 performances and 2 previews. As we said, the original script was written by Neil Simon and was directed by Mike Nichols. The cast originally starred Walter Matthau as the slovenly Oscar Madison and Art Carney as the neat, somewhat OCD Felix Ungar. Production gained Tony Awards for Walter Matthau. Neil Simon as Beth, author of play, Best Direction of Play, Best Scenic Design, which is credited to Oliver Smith, and was nominated for Best Play overall. Now, before the end of the run, Walter Matthau was replaced with Jack Klugman starting in November 1965, and later Pat Hingle starting in February 1966. I want you to remember those first 2 names, folks, because they're going to come back up again. Art Carney was eventually replaced with Eddie Bracken in October 1965, and later Paul Dooley. Now, the original play has seen many revivals around the country and even in some foreign countries. There was a very infamous run of the play in Japan, where of course there was some local cultural adaptations. as well as plays in which the original characters who were cast and written as Caucasians were portrayed as African Americans, which, again, we're going to note for coming up later. And many of these Broadway productions, whether they be on Broadway or off Broadway, have featured various actors who would go on to bigger and better things or had already become famous and thus did this as a passion project. I'm going to run through some of those names real quick. We're not going to really go over the years. This is based, as I said, just going to kind of be an all-star trivia fact here. Among the many people who have played in Neil Simon's The Odd Couple has been Martin Short, Eugene Levy, and Dave Thomas from the famous SCTV crew. Gerard Kelly, Craig Ferguson. Let's see. Billy Crystal and Robin Williams announced a possible stage revival, but it was later abandoned. Jamie Farr and William Christopher took a shot at it, as well as Wheel of Fortune host Pat Sajak and Hawaii TV News anchor Joe Moore, who is a roommate and close friend of Pat Sajak over the years, played at the Hawaii Theater Center as a benefit for Hawaii's Manoa Valley Theater, as well as people like Matthew Broderick and Nathan Lane, although due to illness, Lane was replaced for 3 performances by Brad Garrett, Ethan Hawke, Billy Crudup, and various others. Now, before I leave the play and get on to the later adaptations, there is one important revival we are going to discuss. And that is the fact that Neil Simon himself actually spearheaded an all-female cast of The Odd Couple. Oh, real quick, sorry. That's what happens when running things off notes and doing improv. Sometimes we got to backpedal a little bit. Besides the main characters of Oscar and Felix, the core cast included Oscar's poker-playing buddies, who, along with Oscar, would usually get wound up by Felix's neat and tidy ways, even to the point of cleaning up their poker game before the poker game was over, and the upstairs neighbors, originally from England, known as the Pigeon Sisters. As I said, these characters tend to show up in various adaptations over the years, so they are important to note. So, going back to what I was saying, in 1985, Neil Simon revised The Odd Couple for a female cast. The female Odd Couple was based on the same storyline and same lead characters, however they were now called Florence Ungar and Olive Madison. The poker game became Trivial Pursuit, with the gaming friends also being gender swapped, and the English-born Pigeon Sisters became the Spanish-born Costazuela brothers, Manola and Jesus. Female Odd Couple opened on Broadway at the Broadhurst Theater on June 11, 1985, and closed on February 23, 1986, after 295 performances and 9 previews. The leads were played by Sally Struthers and Rita Moreno, and Louis J. Stadlin and Tony Shalhoub, in his Broadway debut, played the Costazuela brothers. Tony Shalhoub, of course, is a friend of many TV sitcom people of the 90s and on, as he was a cast member on the sitcom Wings, and of course had a leading role in the USA detective show Monk. So, hey, way to go, Tony. There was also a London production of this version that was ran at the Apollo Theater, and a Spanish version that opened in Madrid, in which it was referred to as La Extrana Parilla. Probably mispronouncing that, and I do apologize. I do not speak Spanish fluently, but I try my best. So, let's talk media jumping. That's right, you can't keep a good play down, especially when Neil Simon has made a lot of good plays. and you have such great actors playing them. So, in 1968, The Odd Couple became a theatrical film starring Jack Lemmon and Walter Matthau. Jack Lemmon taking on the role of the neat freak Felix Ungar. Now, the film was a success with critics and grossed over $44.5 million, making it the third highest grossing film of 1968 in the United States. Just go ahead and let's see. For reference, it was beaten by 2001: A Space Odyssey and Funny Girl, which are two extremely excellent films themselves. No shame in losing out to them. For reference, the rest of your top 10 for 1968 was Bullet, Oliver, Planet of the Apes, Rosemary's Baby, Romeo and Juliet, Yours, Mine, and Ours, and The Lion in Winter. That was a good year for film. Now, the success for the film did inspire an ABC television sitcom, which we will touch on in just a minute. But we are focusing on the movie right now. As we said, it did gross approximately $44 million on a budget of $1.2 million. So, yes, it was considered a major success on the financial front. This time around, the Pigeon Sisters were played by Monica Evans and Carol Shelley. And we had a lovely set of music, including an award-winning jazz instrumental theme composed by Neil Hefti, which would become an iconic theme as part of the Odd Couple's ongoing legacy, since, of course, most Broadway plays don't have theme songs. Roger Ebert gave the film 3.5 stars out of 4 and praised the universally good performances, though he noted times when the movie's Broadway origins are painfully evident, as when the players in the poker game are grouped around 3 sides of the table, but the downstage side is always left bare. Neil Simon was nominated for the Academy Award for Writing Adapted Screenplay. Frank Brock was nominated for the Academy Award for Film Editing and the American Cinema Editors Eddie Award for Best Edited Feature Film. It was also nominated for the Golden Globe Award for Best Motion Picture, Musical, or Comedy. Jack Lemmon and Walter Matthau were each nominated for the Golden Globe Award for Best Actor in a Motion Picture, Musical, or Comedy. And Gene Saks was nominated for the Directors Guild of America Award for Outstanding Directorial Achievement in Feature Film. And in 2000, it was recognized by the American Film Institute's 100 Years, 100 Laughs, ranking at number 17. Now here's what's really fun, folks, and that is that there was a sequel to the film. It did still star Jack Lemmon and Walter Matthau, but the film did not come out until 1998. That's right, folks. There was a long gap of time between movies. Long gap of time. 30 years between the original movie and the sequel coming out. That is insane to think about. But it's Hollywood. Anything can happen. That's why they call it the magic of film. So yes, The Odd Couple 2 was released in the United States on April 10th, 1998. And was the last time that the two would film together, as well as being Neil Simon's final screenplay. It was the penultimate film for Lemmon and Matthau, as both actors appeared in just one more theatrical film separately, Lemmon in The Legend of Bagger Vance and Matthau in Hanging Up, both in 2000, before Sadly, both actors have passed on since then. Jack Lemmon having, let's see, check my dates here, folks. Passed on in 2001. And Walter Matthau passing in 2000. Need that anymore. Now, in the plot of this particular film, acknowledging the amount of time that has passed and thus the aging of the actors, it is said that it has been 17 years since Oscar and Felix have seen one another. Oscar still hosting his regular poker game with his buddies, though he now lives in Sarasota, Florida, although he's still continuing his occupation of being a sports writer. Things are turned upside down when Oscar's son invites Oscar out to California for a wedding, only for Oscar to find out the woman his son is marrying is Felix's daughter, Hannah. Which means not only are the two going to reunite, but they are now going to be family. Various shenanigans occur as the two attempt to make it to the wedding in California after being reunited at the airport. Thus, this film takes place almost, kind of sort of as a bit of a road trip comedy, and thus buries up that standard formula of the plays and TV shows where it was them centering around day-to-day life as roommates. I'm not going to spoil too much for the movie because I highly recommend it for anybody who's a fan of these actors and the string of great movies they made in the late 90s. But, real quick, after various shenanigans, they finally arrive at the wedding house only to find out that Brucey is having second thoughts about the wedding due to his parents' bad history with marriage. As it is noted over the course of the TV series that both Felix and Oscar had been married and divorced, hence why they kept living together as roommates for so long. They just couldn't manage to live with anybody else, apparently. Felix and Oscar argue with their ex-wives, after which Oscar persuades his son to go through with it, and the wedding goes off without a hitch. Felix, meanwhile, has found a new lady love in Felice Adams, portrayed by Mary Beth Peil. And initially, after the wedding, it is seen that they depart together towards her home in San Francisco, while Oscar returns to Florida. Fortunately, as soon as Oscar attempts to return to his regular life and his perpetual and habitual poker game, Felix shows up saying things with Felice didn't work out and asks if he can move in with Oscar until he finds his own place. Oscar's initially hesitant, but eventually relents, insisting their days being roommates will be over if Oscar catches Felix matching any of his socks. Because what else do super neat freak OCD people do but match socks? Even if they're not their own socks. The end of the film, thus, sees Felix cleaning in and around the poker game while Oscar bemoans that he is getting a sense of deja vu. As I said before, this is a wonderful film, part of a series of entertaining films done by Walter Matthau and Jack Lemmon working together towards the end of their lives in the late 90s, along with Grumpy Old Men and its sequel, Grumpier Old Men, and God, what was the one where there were the two ex-presidents? I'm gonna have to look that up real quick because I do want to cite it, because that is a brilliant film. Let's see. Oh, come on. Don't make me. Was it? I'm going to hate this if I'm actually wrong about this. No, wait. No, that wasn't both of them. No. Excuse me, I misspoke. That was not... That was not a Mathau Lemon movie. That was... Yeah, now I gotta think of this. Hold on, I gotta take care of this real quick, folks, or I'm going to lose my mind over the course of this and get distracted. Excuse me. That was James Garner, not Walter Matthau, that starred in Jack Lemmon with My Fellow Americans in 1996. Sorry, folks, it was at that same time period where they were doing Grumpy Old Man and Grumpier Old Man, Out to Sea, The Odd Couple. Kind of get my brain a little crosswired. But yes, that is another great film for you Jack Lemmon fans. Or your James Garner fans. He's another wonderful actor. We'll definitely talk about James Garner and some of his great films one day. But yes, The Odd Couple 2. The Odd Couple 2 was, sadly, despite the fact that I thoroughly enjoy the movie, considered a critical and commercial failure. The film only grossed $18 million at the North American domestic box office and holds a total of 27% on Rotten Tomatoes. But, you know, it's like this. I do like some films that have scored very low with critics and Rotten Tomatoes, so if you are a fan of these actors, go ahead and see it. It's only 96 minutes, so it's not like it's going to sit there and, you know, wreck your entire day, even if you don't find it as funny as some of their previous material. It is, in my mind, a perfectly good sequel to the original 68 film, as it does kind of bring everything full circle for the characters while acknowledging that, yes, there was that 17-year span where they were not stuck putting up with each other as roommates, showing that, hey, time goes on, and no matter how hard you try to fight it, maybe some things are just destined to be and are the natural order of things. But still, we got more Odd Couple coming for you, folks. We got more Odd Couple. In 1970, The Odd Couple officially debuted on television, formerly titled Neil Simon's The Odd Couple. This time, former Broadway portrayer Jack Klugman's Oscar Madison was balanced out by Tony Randall's Felix and Oscar, and was the first of several sitcoms developed by Gary Marshall for Paramount Television. In this one, Felix and Oscar are both divorced, and they are residing in Manhattan. Pigeon's sisters are once again portrayed by Monica Evans and Carol Shelley, reprising their roles from the film, and made 4 appearances during the first season. Sisters were never seen after that, but were occasionally mentioned later on. In this one, Oscar did gain a steady girlfriend during the latter part of the first season and half of the second, Dr. Nancy Cunningham, portrayed by Joan Hotchkiss, whose colleague, Dr. Melnitz, played by Bill Quinn, is a curmudgeonly and sarcastic older physician who treats both Felix and Oscar, explaining how Oscar met the lovely young Dr. Cunningham. Felix also gains a girlfriend in the 3rd season, Miriam Welby, portrayed by Eleanor Donahue, and they lasted into the 5th season, presumably breaking up before Felix remarried his ex-wife Gloria in the series finale. Gloria was portrayed by Janice Hansen, and Jack Klugman's real-life wife, Brett Summers, portrayed Oscar's ex Blanche. The couple celebrated in real life during the final season of the show. So a little bit a case of life imitating art. Show featured many celebrity guest stars, such as country guitar legend Roy Clark, sportscaster Howard Cosell, pop singer J.P. Morgan, Marilyn Horne, Edward Villavella, Monty Hall, Richard Dawson, Wolfman Jack, David Steinberg, Hugh Hefner, Rodney Allen Rippey, John Simon, Bubba Smith, Deacon Jones, Alan Luden, Betty White, and noted tennis frenemies and one-time real-life competitors Bobby Riggs and Billie Jean King appearing as themselves, among many other great talented actors and actresses. Now, while during the show's original run, the show did technically have mediocre ratings at best, as it was never among the top 30 programs on the Nielsen ratings, both actors were nominated for Emmy Awards in each year of the show's run. Jack Klugman won 2 Emmy Awards, one in 71 and 73, and Tony Randall won an Emmy in 75 after the show's recent cancellation, joking in his acceptance speech that he wished he still had a job to go along with his Emmy. Klugman was nominated for the Golden Globe in 72, but didn't win until 74. The show itself was also nominated for an Emmy Award for Outstanding Comedy Series in the years 71, 72, and 74. To date, these are the last Emmy nominations to a sitcom airing on a Friday night. Partway through the course of the series, because I did make mention of this earlier on, folks, we're going to throw this trivia fact out. ABC added a narration reinforcing the fact that these are 2 divorced men who are simply good friends, because ABC was worried that the audience might start speculating about a homosexual subtext, given changing perceptions of masculinity at the time, and the, as we said at that time, culturally ideation of macho men, and the fact that the fastidious Oscar, excuse me, not Felix, not Oscar, yeah, that the neat freak Felix tended not to act very macho. It was also retconned that Oscar had been thrown out of his home like Felix, when in several episodes shown earlier seasons, Oscar had lived in the same apartment before and during his marriage. So, a little bit of a tweaks there. Over the years, Klugman and Randall would appear in many television commercials and public service announcements as Felix and Oscar, including 72 ads for Yoplait yogurt, 74 for the game Challenge Yahtzee, and a series of commercials for Eagle Snacks, as well as serving as advertisements for regional productions of the original Neil Simon play. Eventually, Randall and Klugman would reunite for the 1993 television movie The Odd Couple together again. Unfortunately, Klugman had lost a vocal cord due to throat cancer, and thus it limited the amount of spoken dialogue the character could have. This was written into the script, with Felix trying to help Oscar recover following surgery. So we do what we can. Here's where we get really fun, folks, as we now have a few other television adaptations. We have a 1975 animated half-hour Saturday morning cartoon, which used the term The Odd Couple, although in this one, as was classic in animation, the characters have different names and are anthropomorphized animals, this time being the neat freak cat Spiffy and the slovenly dog Fleabag. Otherwise, it is still the same basic setup for The Odd Couple, and as I said, did retain the naming, including giving credit to Neil Simon as the originator of the concept. We eventually got in 1982 an updated version of the 1970s television series under the name of The New Odd Couple, which, while it only lasted for 18 episodes over the course of one season, it is important to note because it was cast using a African American cast instead of the classic Caucasian actors, much like the play was eventually done with. This was one of the rare instances of this happening in television, especially at the time, and while the show did not take off quite as big as the original 1970s show, it is still remembered fondly. And it does star Ron Glass as Felix Unger and Demond Wilson as Oscar Madison, as well as featuring Sheila Anderson as Cicely Pigeon and Ronaldo Douglas as the sister Gwendolyn Pigeon, and was executive produced by Gary Marshall, who had produced the original 1970s TV show, as we discussed, including using the same basic theme music, although played with a more updated urban arrangement. By the way, if you're wondering why Ron Glass and Demond Wilson sounds familiar, they had collaborated previously, appearing in 2 episodes of Sanford and Son. So, there you go. Ron Glass was also known for portraying Detective Ron Harris in Barney Miller, as well as appearing as Shepard Book in the series Firefly in the 21st century here, for much more recent people. Demond Wilson, of course, played Lamont Sanford in Sanford and Son as a regular appealing character. Most recently, we have seen The Odd Couple show up on television in 2015. Lasted 3 seasons and 38 episodes this time around, and starred Matthew Perry, who also developed and executive produced the series, as Oscar Madison, with Thomas Lennon as the obsessively tidy Felix Unger. Matthew Perry, of course, had already had television experience on the iconic TV series Friends, and Thomas Lennon had worked on MTV's The State, as well as portraying Lieutenant Jim Dangle on the Comedy Central series Reno 911 previous to this. So, you know, they'd done a good thing. They got people with TV experience, specifically sitcom experience. However, the show was formally canceled on May 15th, 2017. And only received mixed reviews from critics. Rotten Tomatoes judged Season 1 with a 24% rating. And the show briefly got controversy in the 2nd season when, in a particular episode, Felix asks romantic interest Emily on a date by saying, "Let's go visit that new Serbian restaurant, the Taste of Srebrenica." The line seemed to reference the 1995 Srebrenica massacre, in which 8,000 young Bosniak men and boys were systematically rounded up and killed by the Bosnian Serb army, and thus many Bosniak communities in Europe and North America objected to the line in the episode. On May 10th, 2016, the show's executive producer Bob Daly did apologize for the line, saying, "We were unaware of any connection to the terrible tragedy in Srebrenica, and we would never intentionally disrespect or make light of such an event, and sincerely apologize to anyone we may have offended." Ultimately, though, they still made it a joke that they really should have sat there and Googled food a bit first. The show did give Matthew Perry 2 nominations, one in 2016 and one in 2017 for People's Choice Awards for Favorite Comedic TV Actor. So, where does that leave the legacy of The Odd Couple? Well, as I said, besides various television adaptations, ongoing revivals of the play, both on and off Broadway, couple great films. The basic idea of the diametrically opposed, non-romantic buddies has shown up in many other films and subgenres, most infamously being the buddy cop films. Now, I'm not saying that I can show you concrete proof of this, but, you know, if you look at The Odd Couple and the way the two guys bounce off each other, you know, you do kind of get those vibes in things like Riggs and Murtaugh from Lethal Weapon, especially the first couple films there, before the characters' long-going friendship started kind of getting both more towards the middle instead of the two extremes. That first film, yeah, there is some Felix and Oscar vibes to it, and that's pretty much where most of the humor comes from. Not to mention the lead characters in movies like Rush Hour, and, you know, to a lesser extent, since it wasn't a perfect one-on-one pairing, Eddie Murphy's Beverly Hills Cop trilogy, where Detroit cop Axel definitely has some cultural clashes with his two buddies out in Beverly Hills. You also have stuff where you start bleeding out a little bit more. You can definitely say the early couple seasons of X-Files between Scully and Mulder. Although, as I said, the ongoing nature of that show and its character evolution, serial storytelling meant that the Felix Oscar vibes did kind of pull back as the characters came to rely and trust on each other more. So, you know, it's a thing. But it's there. Felix and Oscar are, in many ways, the penultimate opposites attract equation, especially when it comes to comedy. And it is no doubt that with so many adaptations of Neil Simon's iconic play, these two characters will continue to live on, even if just as inspirations that are not blatantly obvious. But that's the fun of entertainment, when the people who know, and the people who don't know can still enjoy the work for what it is, because there's nothing wrong with a little inspiration. Everybody's inspired by something. But hey, we have definitely gone a pretty good amount of time here, so I'm going to let y'all go, at least for 7 days. We're going to come back around to this. Bing, bang, boom. Because every 7 days we do ramble. Felix and Oscar may not be joining us. Neil Simon may not be joining us. Although I do definitely want to go back and look more at Neil Simon's ongoing career as a playwright. Because, as I said, he has done multiple works that have left major imprints on the entertainment industry. So, it'll be a thing. but it won't be next week because next week I already got another plan. So, see you in 7. Subscribe, comment, like, do it all. Boost those YouTube algorithms so more people can figure out what you lovely and awesome viewers already know, which is we all appreciate a little bit of review, a little bit of an appetizer, because the reason we don't do these things longer and the reason I covered so much at once is I want you to check those shows out. I want you to check those movies out for yourself. Don't just watch me give such super intimate detail reviews you feel you don't need to watch it. Find your entertainment. Find what's awesome to you. And even if you don't love it, remember, you can criticize if you're constructive, because we here at Roulette Productions will always give credit to people that work hard and try their best. Save the hate for elsewhere. We got nothing but love for the entertainers that provide for us. Next time, folks. Next time.